My teen female stepmom 40, Ariel, is really immature and honestly acts like a child sometimes. She's the type of person who makes fun of someone for having a hearing aid or wearing glasses. She also says bigoted things, i.e. someone on TV wearing a towel turban, and Ariel says, "Ooh, why would anyone want to look like a Muslim?" So I do my best to avoid her. But Ariel won't stop reading my diary. I found out because she said I wrote rude things about her cousin Loretta and tried to punish me for it. I didn't write anything rude about Loretta, just that she was condescending to me and I didn't like her comments. Dad just told me to respect adults and said nothing to Ariel about reading my diary. I've moved my diary multiple times, but Ariel keeps finding and reading it. She'll make comments and say things that she would only know about from actively reading my diary. I told my dad and he won't do anything. He makes an excuse that, "Oh, you don't know Ariel reads your diary," when she clearly does. I got fed up with it. So I talked to Ariel again about respecting my privacy and not reading my diary. I then wrote in my diary that I caught my dad having an affair with our neighbour Michael. Ariel ended up reading my diary the next day and freaked out. She yelled at my dad, went to Michael's house, yelled at Michael, and then she drove somewhere else. I do feel a little bad for Michael, but then again, he said rude and weird things to me and gives me some not so good vibes. My family on my mom's and stepdad's side all thought it was super funny and told me that I taught Ariel an overdue lesson about respecting privacy and not being nosy. But Ariel and my family on my dad's side are furious with me, and I'm still grounded at his house. They said that Ariel is just curious and wants to know what's going on in my life, and I should appreciate that Ariel intends to be involved instead of embarrassing the family in front of the neighbourhood. Am I the idiot? Most definitely not the idiot. This is poetic justice. Your stepmom played stupid games and won stupid prizes. I only feel bad for the neighbour, so now you've proven to your dad that you were right. Ariel was snooping in your diary. Instead of defending you, he's grounding you, actively choosing his wife over you, his daughter, and showing you that he's not providing a trustworthy and safe environment for you. Your dad and his family are enablers with a total lack of boundaries. You want to steer away from them. Yeah, diaries are private, period. They said that Ariel is just curious and wants to know what's happening in my life, and I should appreciate that Ariel wants to be involved instead. Excuse me, what? If she wants to know what's happening in your life, she can start a conversation like a normal person. Your father and his family are gross for taking the idiot's side on this. Peeping at people showering is just being curious about their life then, and so is stealing their passwords and checking all their social media and bank account. Like, I was just curious about how much money you had to give to me. The number of people having to ask if they're idiots for wanting a modicum of privacy is getting out of hand. How you managed to teach 3 lessons in one action is truly remarkable. You taught your stepmother not to be a snoop and to respect your privacy, and you taught your dad to actually do something rather than gaslight you, else crap things happen, and also included a rude neighbour in your experiment. Ignore the complaining and moaning of your dad and Ariel's family, just like they ignored your complaints. But if you want to keep a diary, start doing it in a nondescript notebook that looks like a school thing. Keep writing in the fake one and leaving it out for her. Not the idiot, just a hilarious genius. Keep it up. When I was 5, my dad bought me a locket with pictures of him, my mom, my sister and my brother, both older. When I was 7, my dad and sister died. My locket became something so treasured I wore it all the time and didn't care if it was a formal event or not. When I was 8, my mom remarried. Mom's husband is Jeff. Jeff had a 1-year-old called Nathan, whose mom was not in the picture. Mom and Jeff then had 2 daughters together pretty quickly. My locket was something they all knew about because they'd seen me wear it. Mom asked me a couple of times to add Jeff, Nathan and the girls, and I told her I didn't want to. So when I was 16, Mom and Jeff bought me a new locket with their photos in it. I never wore it, but I put it into a jewellery box I own. There were some comments and tensions that I never wore the new one. My half-sisters were upset about me not changing which one I wore all the time. I explained why the original was special, and they told me the new one was more special because it included them. My mom was annoyed at me about how I handled it, and Jeff complained to me for not appreciating what they did for me. I'm 19 now and I live in a small apartment. My brother lives with his girlfriend. A couple of weeks ago we stayed at my brother's house, and when I woke up that morning, my locket had been moved. I don't wear it to bed in case it breaks. I went about my day and that weekend. When I got home a couple of days later, I wanted to look at the photos inside and noticed they'd taken out my dad's photo and tried to squeeze in Jeff, Nathan and the girls. I was angry. I called my mom and asked if she'd seen my locket, and she told me I drove them to do what they did because I was selfish and inconsiderate, and broke their hearts for the last 3 years by showing which locket I favoured and which family I favoured as well. So she hung up on me. I tried to calm down and went over to their house, Mom and Jeff's, and I told them they had no right to touch my locket. Jeff told me that they had every right to show a more accurate representation of my family and that I was hurting Nathan and the girls by wearing something that didn't include them when I had something that did. I lost it. I told them they did not have that right and they do not get to tell me who I carry around in my locket or not. I told him he would never deserve a spot, told Mom she had lost her spot, and then I left, saying they needed to stay the heck away from me. My brother couldn't believe they'd done it. He sided with me and told Mom to accept that we didn't feel the way she wanted us to. Mom and Jeff said I was an idiot. Mom said since Dad bought it while they were married, she also had every right to interfere with it. Am I the idiot here? I truly hope you get the photo of your father back to replace in the locket or can find another one to put in there, even if it's not the same. Not the idiot. I would strongly consider this grounds for going no contact with the family members involved. It's just wrong. Your mom is insanely insensitive toward you. This runs so much deeper than a locket. She's not acknowledging your grief and allowing you the space to remember your father and sister the way you want to. Mom remarried less than 1 year after the death of her child's father. She never cared about what was best for that poor girl and her grief. Instead, she tried to actively erase her father's memory from the get-go. I'm so sorry for all you've been through, OP. I strongly recommend therapy for yourself. You need to prioritize yourself and your mental health, since your mother never will. I think your mum clearly harbors a lot of guilt about moving on from your dad so quickly, but that isn't your problem. She should have taken a damn breath before selfishly rushing to replace him without even a second thought about how that decision would affect you. So yeah, your mum made this bed and now she gets to lie in it. I hope she has the life she deserves. I'm 6'5", so I'm very tall. I've never been too insecure because it's a good thing, but I feel out of place when out with my family. My mom is 5'2", and my dad is 5'8", and my brother is 5'7", and my sister is little too. Everyone is little but me. We were at a family gathering and I was a lot taller than everyone there. I was just following behind my mom because I don't feel comfortable at family gatherings. My cousin told my mom and me, "Wow, you've grown very tall, haven't you? Wonder where he gets it from." That was so insulting because she just implied that I was freakishly tall. I'm 20, so I'm too old for those comments to be made anyway. My mom often dodges my dad's side of the family because they've always just acted strange. She looked so upset and uncomfortable, so I stepped in and said, "At least I've not grown into being a fat witch like you." My grandparents told me to be quiet and, as usual, people were clearly muttering about me. My dad's side of the family is always so rude to me, and my mom and I just feel like I had to do something about it. I've heard my grandparents trying to break my parents up and calling my dad willfully blind too. It's just because my mom is poorer than my dad, and they all accused her of being a gold digger and hated her for it. Am I the idiot? This comment is not inherently rude and it does not imply you are freakishly tall. It simply states the fact. You are tall in a short family. Stop going to these family functions if you hate your family. Don't play the "I'm 20 and mature" card if you're going to overreact like a butthurt 4th grader over a pretty vanilla comment. You are the idiot. My guess is his dad's family thinks he's the mailman's baby and they're past even trying to hide it. His retort was immature for sure, but if I was in that situation, I'm pretty sure 20-year-old me would have said something. Maybe not some version of "your fat nanny boo-boo", but I'm pretty sure I would have said something. Agree. I mean, he literally says they call his mother a gold digger and his father blind and then makes snide comments about "wonder where he gets it from", etc. It's a normal comment, but I can see why he snapped if this has been going on for years and he thought they were implying he was an affair baby. The real idiot is the father for never standing up for his wife when his side verbally abused her until it got to the point that his son lost his crap like that. I disagree. I'm taking OP's claims that his father's family is constantly rude to him and his mother with a grain of salt. He thinks someone commenting on his height is an insult. It makes me question whether or not his father's family has actually been rude or he has interpreted innocent remarks to mean something different. Even if his father's family had been unkind to his mom and thinks she's a gold digger, Why would that make it okay for OP to lash out at his cousin? That's not acceptable either way. Also, newsflash OP, people weren't muttering about you because you were tall, they're muttering about you because, out of nowhere, you started insulting and swearing. My 24 female, older brother 30 and sister-in-law 31 have a daughter together, young grammar school age. They have a very unconventional style of parenting in my opinion, as they don't believe in celebrating birthdays or birthday gifts. This was my sister-in-law's idea and she believes that acknowledging, celebrating your kids' birthdays makes them spoiled and makes them believe that the day is all about them. Weird, but hey, her kid, her rules, I guess. This is kind of controversial in my family because we're big on celebrating holidays and birthdays and love giving each other gifts. Still, we respect their wishes and don't celebrate or acknowledge my brother, sister-in-law, or sadly, my niece's birthday. Now, my niece and I are pretty close as I'm her favourite auntie, and at first the whole birthday thing wasn't an issue because my niece was still too young to understand. But now, at her current age, she understands the concept of a birthday and I guess she's confused why she doesn't have one. So my sister-in-law went as far as to talk to my niece's teacher and explain her parenting style, and the teacher now doesn't acknowledge my niece's birthday because my sister-in-law will have a fit and complain to the school board if she does. Last weekend was my fiancé's birthday. On Sunday, my family and his family gathered at our house for a small birthday dinner and a cake. When it was time for the cake and to blow out the candles, my niece asked my fiancé if she can try it. He said, sure, if it's okay with your mom and dad. My sister-in-law looked hesitant but said yes. So my niece helped my fiancé blow out his candles and made a wish with him. As a joke, my fiancé asked her what she wished for and she said, cake on my birthday. Now her birthday happened to be this past Thursday, so yesterday, Sunday, we asked my brother and sister-in-law if we can take my niece out for dinner. My sister-in-law said yes. Long story short, at the end of dinner, we got our server to bring out a cupcake for my niece with a candle in it, so she could blow out. No one sang happy birthday or anything like that, even though I think it's ridiculous. I then gave my niece a little gift bag with a heart-shaped necklace inside and told her it was a little treat for her. She obviously loved it and her cupcake. Well, fast forward, sister-in-law and brother caught wind of this from my niece and are super angry at my fiancé and me. They said we aren't respecting their parenting style and that my niece is no longer allowed to be around us. I told my sister that my niece was going to suffer because of the weird thing she has against birthdays and gifts. I also explained to her that no one acknowledged the birthday at the dinner. They think I'm a huge idiot. The rest of my family thinks sister-in-law is weird, but that I shouldn't have done that. Am I the idiot here? Parenting style? You can't just do something incredibly socially unacceptable and or cruel and call it a parenting style. I put horseradish on all of my kids' food because that's my parenting style. The girl is already seeing that other people get birthdays and even wishes for a cake on her birthday. That poor child. Give her presents just because throughout the year I saw this and thought of you. Be that generous person in her life and sing her a very happy unbirthday to you. I'd say that in a society that absolutely does celebrate birthdays, etc., this is just basic cruelty. What a self-centered and frankly miserly attitude. It sounds entirely like an excuse to be cheap and not celebrate their kid's birthday. Honestly, they are inadequate parents. Agree, they are absolutely terrible parents. This child will grow up thinking there's something wrong with her when all of her friends, if she's allowed to have friends, I wouldn't want her to be spoiled, are celebrating their birthdays with family who love them. Keep doing small things like this as often as you can without raising suspicion. Make sure your niece knows there is somebody in her corner. You sound like a good aunt. My boyfriend and I, both 33, still live with our parents, so we never get to have quality alone time together. Last week his parents were away on vacation. We planned a romantic dinner on Saturday at his parents' house since it was free. We went shopping for groceries and wine, and when we got back to the house ready to start our date night, his sister, 25, was there with a bunch of her friends in the backyard having a barbecue. She'd also had people over the night before. We were both disappointed since she usually works overnight on Saturdays. She claims she'd always had this Saturday off, but we think she probably requested the day off since the house would be free. I explained our plans to her, and she said no worries, they were in the backyard, so no one would bother us in the kitchen, and we could still have our date night. We opened our wine and started to cook, but she and her friends were being so loud and kept coming in using the bathroom down the hall from the kitchen. We had enough. I went outside and told her they were being too loud, and it was unacceptable when she knew we were trying to have our date night. I asked her if she and her friends could move their barbecue to another location. She had her friends over last night and this was our night to use the house. She copped an attitude with me and said she lived here and I was just a guest, so I had no right to demand they leave. She again said we could be in the kitchen and they wouldn't bother us. I was angry and so was my boyfriend. We made our dinner, ate, and then I just went home to my parents. They were still outside hanging out when I left. I made a comment to her on the way out that maybe it was time to grow up, and if she were to actually ever be in a relationship, she would understand how important it is to have alone time. She just rolled her eyes. This morning, my boyfriend called me to say his parents were unhappy with me. He suggested we hang out at my house until it blows over. How am I in the wrong? We planned around her schedule. We picked Saturday because she always works Saturday. She had friends over Friday, so how is it fair that we can't get our own night to use the house just like she did? Seriously? Have we gotten to the point where 33-year-olds are acting like this? You can't tell your boyfriend's sister she can't live life at her house. This is beyond petty and childish. You are the idiot and so is your boyfriend. For crying out loud, still living with your parents. I made a comment to her on the way out that maybe it was time to grow up. I think this comment is more appropriately aimed at you and not at your boyfriend's 25-year-old sister who lives there. Do you or he ever have plans to grow up and get your own place? I can't believe you wrote all of that and didn't realize that you and your boyfriend are idiots. Ha ha ha, you are in your 30s and complaining that you have to share your parents' house with a sibling in their 20s. Damn, just move out already, get your own place if you want alone time. This is so pathetic. His sister lives there too. You aren't entitled to his parents' place alone just because they're out of town.